one thing is for sure. She's a beautiful woman. Pleasant, elegant, friendly. Maybe a little too possessive. But she was so in love with me. She used to say that if she hadn't met me, who knows what she would have done. Maybe she would have committed suicide because she was so unhappy. Unhappy because after 10 years of marriage, she discovered that her husband didn't love her anymore. He had grown tired of her, didn't appreciate her, and didn't understand her. Women make a tragedy of things like that. They become victims. They accuse society, yes, society. They despair. Buy Prozac, run to the psychiatrist, use and abuse the telephone to tell everyone just how unhappy they are, and cry. And then they finally resolve their problem with logic, sometimes even with the lover, before they get there. That's what happened to Anna. As soon as she met me, she unburdened herself. She told me of a tragedy. A woman, when she first gets a lover, does it so she can speak evil of her husband. I tried calmly to explain to her that it might even seem logical that after 10 years of marriage, her husband didn't desire her with the same passion of the first years. But Anna would not listen to reason. She felt betrayed, disillusioned. Giorgio, her husband, was her enemy now. She called him a sadist and a criminal who had tried to destroy her life. She hated him. Believe him? No. Because Giorgio was rich. In those 10 years of marriage, he had managed to make a small fortune. And she was going to partake to that fortune. She was going to get her revenge by spending his money and by betraying him with me. I must admit, it was quite pleasant. We used to see each other every day. She used to come to my house, take me in her arms, and would not let go until it was time for her to leave. It bothered me a little just to see her so wild, but that's how she understood love, with a capital L, brimming over with desire and passion. And I had to constantly tell her that I loved her, even in the most inopportune moments, like when I was putting on my socks or when I was taking a shower. I tried to please her the best I could, but quite often I wasn't successful. In any event, our meetings were extremely pleasant. Anna was a delicious creature and an extraordinary lover. Besides, she really loved me. She said that I was everything to her, and if I would end it, she would die. I had become attached to her as well, and it would have bothered me also if it would end it, but I would have suffered with dignity, without making a tragedy of it. Instead, each day she would become more attached to me. She even became jealous of my thoughts. So one day, she tells me that in order for us to live together, we would have to kill Giorgio. And I was to collaborate. I am a peaceful man. Blood and violence really not appeal to me. Why should I help her kill a man I didn't even know? A man who had done nothing to me. As a matter of fact, a man who had been kind enough to allow me to go to bed with his wife and even spend some of the money he earned. But Anna would not listen to reason. Dead. She wanted him dead. And while she was talking about it, she was envisioning the joys of the funeral, her eyes shining, a widow forever tied to me. I loved her, but to think of living with her forever. So I tried to dissuade her from killing her husband, but she was stubborn. She will not listen. In the end, she even figured out a way to do it. The usual, the classical, most simplest of ways. A hit on the head to knock him out, then place him naked in the tub. Turn on the water, the gas, shut the door, and turn the radio on full blast. Everyone would think it was an accident. It happens every day. Any day would do. Giorgio had a habit of taking a bath as soon as he got home. However, I didn't feel right hitting Giorgio on the head and dragging his body into the tub without even having met him. It didn't seem right. It wasn't even polite. So, in order to buy some time, I convinced Anna to have me meet Giorgio. Giorgio seemed to be a delightful gentleman. He was cordial, well-mannered, pleasant. A man, even though he was a businessman, who knew how to hold a conversation. He was cultivated, spoke of arts, literature, politics. He always had a little joke to tell. I couldn't understand why Anna hated him so, and why she wanted him to die such an undignified death with the bang on the head and his body in the tub. George and I became great friends, so much so that we would sometimes meet, unbeknownst to Anna, of course. It was pleasant to spend time with him and share ideas. We discovered that we had little things in common. And I realized that Anna had fallen in love with me because I had the same temperament and the same demeanor as Giorgio. One night while at the theater, I ran into him. He was all excited about the play he'd just seen. From that day on, we went to the theater together. So, little by little, he began to tell me of his life with Anna. He had been very much in love at first, but after a while, life with her became impossible. She was possessive, and she took away all of his freedom, and he was very unhappy. So he had been forced to separate himself from her. And only now, when indifference has supplanted love, did he start to live again. I felt, besides sympathy for him, a lot of admiration. After all, the life that he had lived with Anna would be the same life that I will lead with her after his death. A hell on earth. Anna, who didn't know anything of our meetings, demanded that since I met Giorgio, I set a date for his death. I was pretty sure it was going to be a perfect crime. But besides thinking of Giorgio, I was thinking of my future, my freedom, and those little things which give pleasure to life, and which Anna will certainly forbid. Now, I couldn't kill Giorgio. I couldn't kill a friend and ruin my life. I had to pull back. But I didn't know how, except to ask Giorgio's advice. He was very understanding. I felt the depth of his friendship and of his solidarity. I would have never imagined that he could be such a friend in such a delicate moment. And what he said to me gave me the courage to understand the situation and to act. It happened just like Anna said. Her plan was perfect. And everything happened so quickly that Anna didn't even realize she was going to die instead of Giorgio. We were both moved when we saw a body in a tub. Even dead, she was still beautiful. Everyone thought it was an accident and no one suspected anything. Giorgio and I followed her coffin with tearful eyes. After all, we both loved her. We just acted in self-defense. And now, the memory of Anna ties us together even more. We see each other often. we go to the theater together. Sometimes we go to the seashore. George is right. Love is great, but friendship is more rewarding. And there's nothing more honest than masculine solidarity. Now we are free. We are our own people. It's too bad though, because it is true. She was a beautiful woman.